Fintroll with Ellie Trez there, and a bit of Nightwish, 10th Man Down. It's a Finnish musical overload. Yeah. This is Blue Please here on One Radio with myself, Total Biscuit, and we're talking about Anchorage today. That's pretty much what we're going to be talking about for the rest of the show. Although I do have a little bit about new armor sets and casual versus hardcore, which is what I'm going to deal with right now. But it's got to be linked in with the whole Anchorage thing. Because let's face it, it's the most exciting thing to happen to World of Warcraft. Or some might say. Anyway. Right. Let's have a look. Casual versus hardcore. I got a thread on this. There's actually a thread on the US raid forums that says, should casuals boycott the AQ war effort? Now, I've got some things that I need to say about casual and hardcore. One of the best things I actually found in this thread was this phrase here. Please stop using the term casual when you mean non-raider. Right. Casual players. What is a casual player? What is a hardcore player? Who knows? They're just labels. They're definitions. Generally speaking, casual is used by people to excuse the fact that they don't play enough. And it's true. When people use the word casual, when referring to themselves, and referring to a context which is beneficial to them, they will use it as it's like a martyr more than anything. I am a casual player. And I am so put down by all these hardcore players. What you really mean is one of a few things. Either you don't play a lot, or you don't raid a lot, or you don't raid at all, or you are lazy and want epics for free. Now, what would I class myself as? Am I a hardcore player? I don't know. Is there some kind of time limit on hardcore? Do I have to play at least 20 hours a week to be a hardcore player? Maybe 30, 40 hours a week? Do I have to raid MC 5 times a week? Zulgura, but I have to do Blackwing Lair. Have I had to have killed Nefarian to be a hardcore player? Do I have to be rank 14 in PvP? Does that make me hardcore? But rank 13 is only casual, folks. Is there some kind of cutoff? Is it some kind of quantifiable value? The answer is no, it's not. It's a label. Casual? What is casual? A, quote, self-confessed hardcore player might say that a casual player is a lazy player. A casual player is a whining player. A casual player is a player that needs to learn to play and hasn't got the skills. But then again, that hardcore player would be a complete and total tit. See, I actually cancel idiot for the use of complete and total tit, because that is what they justify. So, yeah. Whereas a casual player would use what I said before. They would use it as an excuse. Now, on both sides, if there is indeed a war going on here, on both sides you've got your share of morons. You have people who use casual as a sort of martyrdom thing. And say, oh, I'm casual, oh, I'm so hard done to. And then there's people who use casual as an insult. Ah, you're casual, you suck. You're both morons. Both sides are complete idiots. Now, why am I mentioning all this? Other than the whole casual hardcore thing, there's a few points that I want to make. The first point is in relation to the Anchorage war effort. And the thread says, should we boycott? Well, no, you shouldn't. Why? Because it's a world event. It's not that you don't benefit from it. How would a casual player benefit from the war effort? Well, it's quite obvious. Rep. It's not so that a casual player can't grind rep for an epic mount cross-faction. It's progressive content. And this is what I've mentioned show after show after show. A casual player should have progressive content. Content they can do over a long period of time, yet expend the same amount of effort as a, quote, hardcore player would in 8 hours. If a hardcore player spends 8 hours in Blackwing Lair and a casual player can only spend 2, then he should be able to do 8 hours worth of content and get at least some kind of reward. Whether it's the same reward, no. No, because there you ignore the whole thing about having to have 40 people, which in itself is more effort than is required by a single person. While not being a skill-based game, especially not in PvE, your elite skills do not make a blind bit of difference when you're grinding mobs. You know, my elite skills at the game will not make my Frostbolt cast any faster or make it do any more damage. It's irrelevant. It's dependent on my gear and my build. However stylishly I press hotkey 2 on my keyboard is not relevant at this point. Progressive content. That's effectively what it is. That's what rep grinding is. Effectively, that is how progressive content has been done so far. Admittedly, I had to be said, it's not my ideal view of progressive content. I view progressive content as long quest lines, and I mean really long. Whereas rep grinding doesn't really count. Rep grinding might as well be leveling. And leveling is a grind, let's face it. Whereas questing is not necessarily a grind. Well, it is. It's a grind in sheep's clothing. It's a grind hidden from your eyes. It's an attempt to pull the wool over your eyes, the fact that all you're doing is just adding to a big bar that will, peter out at level 60. But that's fine, because you can suspend your disbelief and live in that willful ignorance and think, well, to be honest, I'm not just grinding, I'm questing. I'm taking part in a big adventure. That's fine. That's what the game's all about. Rep grinding, Your rep has increased by 2. You only need 12,000 for the next level. Ugh. Now, there's some rep grinding that works, like, say, Zul'Gurub. With Zul'Gurub, it's not a rep grind as such, because you're not going in there grinding reps specifically, you just get it as you go along. Same with the Hydraxian Waterlord's rep, not that that's much use. Zul'Gurub, I think, is the best example of the whole rep grinding thing, because it doesn't feel like a grind. I recently reached Honoured with Zul'Gurub. It's like, ooh, lovely, new stuff. I get a new necklace, and I can craft all this stuff and all that kind of thing. It's good. I didn't deliberately grind it. I was in Zul'Gurub for the sake of being in Zul'Gurub. So, perhaps rep that's tied into instances is good, but then again we get back to the whole point. You can't tie it into instances, because if you do that, then it's not progressive content anymore. Because the casual player can't take part in it. But there's where the definitions get a little bit blurred. Casual. Does casual mean non-raider? Now, my guild raids at least 5 or 6 times a week. Is that hardcore? And am I hardcore for actually taking part in them? Is there some kind of cut-off point? You see, this is why the definitions make no sense at all. When people refer to casual, they'll often refer to it as a non-raider. I'm casual because I don't go into Molten Core, wearing it like some kind of proud badge. No. A casual player can still go into Molten Core. So where does that leave you as far as your definition goes? Does it bring me to the conclusion that, in fact, these definitions are utterly pointless and serve no practical purpose other than to annoy people? Yeah, that's exactly it. Now, what we should be using is a little formula. Time multiplied by effort equals reward. Now, that formula just says time. So, if I'm to spend 24 hours, even though it's only in 1 hour chunks, it's the same amount of time. That doesn't necessarily mean you'll get the same reward for it, because it's quality over quantity time here. If I go in with my 40-man raid group to do difficult content, which I will more than likely wipe on repeatedly, I mean, let's face it, a bad run in an instance, a big instance like Zul'Gurub or Blackwing Lair or Molten Core, can mean that you'll actually come out of there poorer than you were when you went in. Whereas instance runs are generally, before 60, designed for making cash and getting items. Now, at 60, you notice that the high-level raid content, generally speaking, you actually go in there for items, but you lose cash. Mainly because you have to buy potions, repair bots, you wipe a lot, your equipment gets hammered. It's a well-known fact, to be honest. A good guild will come out with money, but let's face it, they wouldn't have as much money as they would have got from coming out of UBRS or Scholarmans, and they've spent a lot more time. The reason they're in there is for the items. You see, that is quality time spent. Whereas you could spend the same amount of time grinding mobs in Winterspring And that doesn't require as much effort because you don't wipe as much. It's not as dangerous. You don't have to gather a 40-man raid group for it. So, the formula you want to be working on, you don't want to say, is this casual content or is this hardcore content? You want to say, time times effort equals reward. You need to be able to quantify the amount of effort. Let's say we tier effort. Bearing in mind and going on the principle that WoW is not a skill-based game, which it isn't, let's face it. Time times effort. Effort. Let's tier it. Tier 1 effort. Solo content. That is easy. It doesn't involve killing elites, doesn't involve using any special skills. It's just basic farming. Tier 2 content. Elites. Difficult content. Content that is very touch and go. Example, soloing the Abyssal Templars as certain classes is touch and go. I can do it as a mage, but I can still get killed. There's still a chance that I will die. I'll get critted, my spells will get resisted, my kiting isn't quite as good as it should have been, I'll pull ads, I'll get myself killed. Let's call that Tier 2 content. Tier 3 content, 5-man to 10-man raiding. Instance groups, Tier 4, 15 to 20-man, and Tier 5, your big 40-man raids. Now, this is all theory. I made this up at the top of my head. It means nothing, effectively. But the point I'm trying to make is that if you were in Blizzard's shoes and people were screaming for content, you would have to say, what kind of content, what tier of content are they screaming for? Are they screaming for Tier 2 content, difficult solo? Are they screaming for Tier 4 content, 15 to 20-man, quote, casual instances? Are you screaming for Tier 5 content, epic 40-man, difficult raid instances? Now, is it justified that people that do Blackwing Lair get better loot? Of course it is, because it's hard, it's difficult. Now, whether or not you argue that, these guilds can do Nefarian now easily. Yeah, but it's the amount of effort they put into doing that. Let's face it, you don't just go into Blackwing Lair and kick Nefarian's ass the first time. It doesn't happen. It's the same as any new big raid content. It gets easier as you go along, because it's all about the practice and pulling off the specific strategy. So casual v hardcore. That's my view on it. Casual and hardcore does not exist. All that exists are people that want one of the 5 imaginary tiers. Let's call them the TB tiers. The tiers of TB. No, I'm not emo like Dustin. Tier 1 through 5. That's the content they want. It's not casual. They don't want casual content. They don't want hardcore content. A lot of people don't know this. They don't realize what they want a lot of the time. This is the nature of our world, folks. People have to be told what they want. Because generally speaking, they don't have a clue what they're talking about. What they want is Tier 1 through 5 content. They either want easy solo, difficult solo, 5 to 10 man, 15 to 20 man, or 40 man. That's basically the content in the game. Just compressed and condensed into a little can. A tier system. Tier 1 to 5. And that was my idea for today, pulled off the top of my head. There you go. You're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. How long's it been since we've heard this song? I don't know. I'm going to play it. It's the Ganker Unplugged, folks. Enjoy.